these people are accusing balanced trainers of is exactly what they're against, right? They're saying that people are bullying the dogs, are hurting the dogs, are scolding the dogs, are doing negative things to dogs, but yet it's those advocates of positive-only training who are then doing this to the people that they're accusing of doing it. These people aren't even doing it. I just did an interview with Enzo and Lotus. It's a vlogging channel, and we talked about how important an e-collar can be in a dog's life, how it can open up the dog's freedom, how it can give them more and more freedom. And that's really what you are doing. Training a dog gives the dog the freedom that they wouldn't have if they're untrained, right? If a dog can't stay in your proximity or can't be Enzo and Lotus, yes, Riley, I hope I said that right. Then they can't have freedom. If a dog can't be recalled to, it can't be out without a leash. I see people walking their dogs off leash all the time. People ask me, how do I feel about it? And I tell them, look, if you can correct your dog, if you can control your dog off leash, I've got no problem with it. I don't care if your dog's on leash or not, but I'm going to tell you something. Most people cannot control their dog properly, right? Not under a distraction. And then it always comes down to it, like he's never done that before. Just because a dog has never done that before, it's probably because you didn't set the dog up in the proper way to experience that. A good trainer will set up a dog for something. In other words, put a stake outside of the front door, open the door, and see if the dog runs out the front door. Have somebody walking a dog or playing with a tennis ball in front and see if the dog will run out the front door, right? Just opening the door with no distractions and the dog not going out doesn't mean the dog is not trained to run out the front door. You must add distractions. Distractions are the key to successful dog training. For a dog to stay on a focused heel with somebody when there's no distractions, there's no issue. There's zero issue of it. But when we introduce distractions, the cat, the squirrel, the child on a bicycle, the skateboard, the little dog on a leash barking at your dog. You've seen videos of Goofy lying down with another dog lunging and barking at him, and he doesn't move because he knows he's been trained like that, right? Good training takes into account the distractions that will probably trigger the dog. Bad training doesn't introduce those distractions. They just show, it's kind of like, the magician who shows you the trick, and then you say, no, the coin's in the other hand. He goes, yeah, but pretend you didn't see that. You can't pretend you didn't see it because you saw it, because it was a bad trick. The magician did it wrong. So when you're training a dog, you need to focus on the basics, where we don't use corrections at all, right? We focus on luring and shaping a behavior. And this is the point at which I say we keep giving the dog treats. People say, well, how long am I supposed to give my dog treats? You give your dog the treats until the dog expects a treat every time, and then you go beyond that, because then you give the dog a treat even beyond the part of where he expects it, because now he's just doing the behavior because he's brainwashed into doing it. Then you remove the treat and you give him a reward, praise, a ball, a pat on the head, or whatever. Then you introduce distractions. When you introduce distractions, then you introduce your corrections. Your corrections will give you the tool to work past the hurdles. Without that, you're toast. You're just toast. And by the way, there's people who will, do obedience with their dogs and do protection with their dogs and do this and do that. I'm not talking about just that. I'm talking about, I show a lot of competitive obedience on my site, right? I mean, because I think it's fun. I show it in a fun context. I've titled Goofy, in 3 different obedience to the top level. But that's not what it's about, right? Most of you don't tune in because you're looking for that. Well, the reason you tune in is because my experience with a vast variety of dogs, of different behaviors. I've trained dogs of almost every behavior. I mean, I'd probably say every behavior and almost every breed, hundreds of breeds. I understand that. The reason I try to make a difference with dogs is because I understand the simplicity of doing this. It's so simple. Training a dog is as simple as making what you want them to do a positive experience and what you don't want them to do a negative experience. And you're going to set them up for it. You're going to trick them. And that's how you win. So I'm going to look for a couple of questions here. Let's see here. Get my mouse over here. I know some of you guys came in. I saw Anthony came in. I saw Manny, you came in. Donald, you're here. Doug, you're here. Riley, you're here. I don't know. Okay. Let's see. Here's a question. Jeanette, I think I can add this to the chat. Here we go. How do you determine the tool you use first in adhesive? And I think you mean aversive situations. So what I do is, because of my knowledge in having done it so many times, I kind of pick a tool that I think is going to work for the dog. So some dogs really work well with prong collars. Some dogs flip out on prong collars. So before I ever see the aversive, right, before I see the need for the correction, I want to determine what's going to work on the dog. For example, a basic slip lead is going to work on just about every dog, right? Just about every dog. But a prong collar and e-collar work differently. Some dogs work great on prong collars, horrible on e-collars. Some dogs work great on e-collars, horrible on prong collars. Some dogs work great on an e-collar on the vibrate mode. Some can't stand the vibrate. If I put the vibrate mode on Goofy, it freaks him out. He has no idea. But if I put the stim mode, the electric stim mode, it works on him. So taking that tool away from somebody is the problem, right? That's where people always make the issue worse, because they end up being pigeonholed into one thing, right? Some dogs, if you give them food and they're excited, it makes them nutty, it makes them more crazy. Some dogs, if you add a prong collar, it calms them down. Some, it jacks them up. But that's what you have to know. Okay, Colt, that's an interesting question. Is a female or male dog harder trained than the other? And it always depends on the dog. Always. Here's one from Shepherd's Daily Lives. Resource guarding with toys, Dutch Shepherd, best way to overcome. So most of the time, when you get into these issues, if it's a young dog, and I don't know if you didn't say, the dog is, and again, a dog like a Dutchie is going to be naturally resource guarding, Malinois, working like German Shepherds, because it's an ingrained behavior that we want in the dog. Like in other words, you're going to use your Dutchie for